Have you ever noticed that in the United States, everything feels far? Even the grocery store down the street somehow requires a car. Americans don't walk, not because they don't want to, but because most places simply aren't designed for walking. Today, we're breaking down the real reasons why Americans don't walk anywhere. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Americans were systematically engineered out of walking. Most neighborhoods in the U.S. were built after World War II, during a transformative era when the automobile was seen as the ultimate symbol of progress and freedom. Instead of compact, human-scale neighborhoods that had characterized American cities for centuries, the country embarked on an ambitious experiment, building wide roads, spread-out houses, and giant parking lots. The consequences were profound. Distances became too far to cover on foot, streets became too dangerous for pedestrians, and sidewalks became optional afterthoughts rather than essential infrastructure. In 1956, the United States passed the Federal Aid Highway Act, launching the biggest infrastructure project in human history, the interstate highway system. On paper, it sounded transformative: fast travel between cities, modern urban connections, and economic prosperity. But the cost was devastating in ways few anticipated. Highways sliced mercilessly through previously walkable downtowns, displaced entire communities, and encouraged endless suburban sprawl. What was once optional, owning and using a car, became mandatory for participation in daily American life. The freedom promised by highways came at the cost of all other forms of mobility. Then came the widespread adoption of Euclidean zoning laws. Most American cities implemented strict zoning codes that rigidly separated different types of land use: residential homes in one zone, retail stores in another, offices in yet another location. This systematic separation means the places Americans need for daily life, grocery stores, pharmacies, schools, workplaces, are physically separated by design, often by miles. Walking stopped being practical because nothing was close enough to walk to. The corner store became a relic of the past, replaced by car-dependent shopping centers miles away from residential areas. Incredibly, many U.S. neighborhoods don't even have sidewalks. This isn't an oversight. It's a deliberate design choice that reflects priorities. If you want to walk in these neighborhoods, you're forced onto a narrow shoulder next to traffic speeding at 40 or 50 miles per hour. It's stressful, it's unsafe, and it sends a clear message. This place is made for cars, not people. The absence of basic pedestrian infrastructure reveals a fundamental assumption about how people should move through space. The United States has one of the highest pedestrian death rates in the developed world, and the numbers are rising. Wide lanes encourage speeding, crosswalks are rare and often inadequate, and distances between intersections are enormous. Walking isn't just inconvenient in many American communities, it's genuinely dangerous. The design of roads prioritizes vehicle speed over human life, creating environments where a simple walk becomes a life-threatening activity. Every year, thousands of pedestrians are killed on American streets, victims of a system that values automotive convenience over pedestrian safety. American retail establishments aren't built into neighborhoods as integral parts of the community fabric. They're built next to massive parking lots, usually along stroads, a dangerous hybrid of street and road that functions poorly as both. These arterial corridors assume every customer arrives by car, so even if you want to walk to a store, you're crossing a vast sea of asphalt just to buy milk or pick up a prescription. The walking experience, when attempted, is hostile and dehumanizing, surrounded by cars and pavement rather than trees and people. Some people claim Americans simply don't like walking, that there's something culturally distinct about American preferences for automobiles. But that's demonstrably false. Look at New York, Boston, Philadelphia, San Francisco, or Chicago, cities that were largely built before the automobile-dominated planning decisions. These cities are extremely walkable, and people walk everywhere by choice. Neighborhoods like Greenwich Village, Beacon Hill, or the Mission District prove that when the environment supports walking, Americans enthusiastically embrace it. The issue isn't culture or national character, it's infrastructure and design. Given walkable environments, Americans walk just like people anywhere else in the world. Here's the encouraging news. Cities across the United States are beginning to rebuild walkable neighborhoods and rethink decades of car-centric planning. Mixed-use zoning is returning to progressive municipalities. New developments are intentionally placing homes, shops, offices, and transit connections together. Younger generations, having experienced the isolation and expense of car dependency, are demanding walkability more than ever before. This demographic shift is creating political and economic pressure for change. Walkable places aren't just convenient. They offer profound benefits across multiple dimensions of life. They're healthier, encouraging daily physical activity and reducing obesity and cardiovascular disease. They're better for local businesses as foot traffic supports small retailers and restaurants. They create stronger, more connected communities where neighbors actually interact. And, perhaps most importantly, they give people more freedom. The freedom to move without car ownership, the freedom for children and elderly to maintain independence, the freedom to choose how you travel. So, the next time you notice how hard it is to walk somewhere in America, remember, it's not your fault. The system was deliberately built this way through decades of policy decisions, zoning codes, and infrastructure investments that prioritized cars above all else. But the good news is, we can build something better. American cities weren't always like this, and they don't have to remain this way. Change is possible, and it's already beginning.